Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to break down the key tactical themes in Bayern Munich's 1-0 win over PSG to win the Champions League. When we break down the game, when we do look at the board, we have Bayern Munich in a 4-2-3-1, and we end up seeing PSG stick to their 4-3-3. The first theme that we will look at is how PSG were able to get into good positions, and we do know that the key to their success here was would they be able to break Bayern Munich's high aggressive line. What we ended up seeing from Bayern Munich was they pressed as expected. Lewandowski was sitting on Marquinhos. You saw the wider players in Gnabry and Coman pressing the center backs but blocking off the passing lane into the fullbacks. And if PSG were able to get the balls into Bernat or Carrère, then we would see Gnabry and Coman retreat while Thiago and Goretzka stepped into the path of Ander Herrera and Paredes. And there were times where you ended up seeing Thomas Muller step forward to help out Lewandowski. There was one time in particular where he stepped to Keylor Navas. Lewandowski stuck towards Thiago Silva. And that's where you saw Thiago push forward to close down Marquinhos and force PSG over to the right-hand side where Coman was able to close down Carrère. Nevertheless, PSG were still able to bypass that press, and it took them some time to get that going. Ultimately, the biggest issue that Bayern encountered in that opening half was the advanced positioning of Kimmich. They tried to peg back Mbappe by pushing Kimmich forward, but when PSG were able to break in transition, Mbappe had so much space down that left channel, and he was able to get into good goal-scoring positions. You look to one example where you end up seeing Gnabry lose possession, and Marquinhos slides the ball into that left channel with Kimmich caught higher up the pitch for Mbappe dragging out Boateng. Neymar darts in between Alaba and Boateng and receives the pass from Mbappe in left half space, but Neuer denies him. You could look to the time where Mbappe was able to pull out Boateng and flick the ball into the path of Neymar, breaking forward down that left channel because Kimmich was caught higher. And Neymar was able to run at that Bayern back four, slide the ball across Alphonso Davies for Di Maria. Di Maria was closed down there by Davies and Goretzka. But when he pulled the ball back to Herrera at the edge of the box, Herrera was able to place in Di Maria free and right half space, but he scuffed his right-footed shot over the net. And then you could look to some sloppy play from Bayern Munich due to PSG's pressing, which ended up seeing Neymar close down Alaba, and Alaba plays a sloppy pass across Kimmich into the path of Mbappe, and Mbappe is able to slide the ball into Herrera, running off Goretzka into right half space, and then get the ball back free ahead of Manuel Neuer, but he fires a tame effort at the German keeper. But if we stick to pressing, PSG looked to press from the front to ensure that Bayern couldn't consistently play out of the back easily. And what we ended up seeing was that Neymar would lead the press by stepping into the path of Boateng. Mbappe would push higher just ahead of Kimmich. And then you would see Di Maria stepping out into the path of Alaba and looking to block off the passing lane into the path of Alphonso Davies. If the pass was played out to Alphonso Davies, then what we would see is that Herrera would shift over to close him down. You'd have Marquinhos sitting on Muller, and then it would simply be Paredes looking to step into the path of Thiago. And if there were times where Thomas Muller was pushed out a bit higher, then you would see Marquinhos step out into the path of Thiago if there was no pressure applied to him. However, we did see variations of that pressing. For instance, there's a time where Mbappe stepped out into the path of Neuer, and we ended up seeing Neymar dropping off to ensure that Thiago couldn't form a three-man backline to get on the ball. If Neymar looked to step into the path of Neuer to apply pressure, then you would see Mbappe push forward towards Sula or Boateng to get on the ball, and then that would force out Paredes to step into the path of Kimmich if the ball was played out to that right-hand side. And there was a time where you ended up seeing Di Maria blocking off the passing lane into Thiago while pressing Alaba until Neymar was able to drop off deeper. The key shift in that PSG press was the fact that Herrera had to shift out into the path of Alphonso Davies. But if he was looking to press in that midfield with Paredes, then you would see Marquinhos shift out into the path of Alphonso Davies. And while Herrera's movement out into that right channel to close down Davies was a key theme in this game, what we ended up seeing was that when PSG were forced to drop off deeper into that 4-5-1, Kimmich and Davies were looking to push forward, and for the most part, we never really saw Mbappe and Di Maria tracking on a consistent basis. It allowed Bayern Munich more time to deliver quality crosses into the box, and that's how they were able to create quality chances with runners breaking off into the back post. So when we look to an example, what we end up seeing is Thiago clipping a ball over Di Maria into the path of Alphonso Davies. Before Herrera can shift over, you end up seeing Coman in between Carrera and Thiago Silva. You have Thomas Muller running across Kimpembe, and that creates space for Alphonso Davies to locate Lewandowski, isolating Juan Bernat at that far post. And when the cross is played into him, he's able to turn across Bernat and he fires a scuffed effort off the post. We could look to the time where Thiago played a pass across Paredes into the path of Gnabry, dropping off Kimpembe, and Gnabry shifted the ball out to Thomas Muller, drifting to that right touchline ahead of Bernat. Kimpembe does shift over, and we end up seeing Gnabry making an overlapping run, and that creates space for Thomas Muller to deliver a devastating ball in towards that 6-yard box for Coman running across Carrera, but he doesn't make contact with Muller's delivery. And if we look to one final example, what we end up seeing is Thiago clipping a ball over a narrow Mbappe with Kimmich for Thomas Muller once again drifting into that right touchline zone ahead of Juan Bernat. We end up seeing Kimmich running off Mbappe and darting into space beyond Bernat. And then we see Muller once again not closed down tightly, delivering across to the front post for Goretzka darting across Kimpembe. And his movement forces Kimpembe to guide the ball into the path of Lewandowski, darting between Thiago Silva and Carrera, and he nods an off-balance effort on goal that forces Navas into a save. And even when we look to the second half, the pattern didn't shift. Tuchel did swap Mbappe and Di Maria, and perhaps that was to get Mbappe to run at Davies because he was on a booking. Nevertheless, when you break down the build-up to Bayern Munich's goal, it's Thiago from a deeper position, not closed down, and with Marquinhos stepping late and Neymar not tracking back to apply pressure, Thiago splits Paredes and Di Maria for Kimmich in a narrow position, but Kimmich's able to slide the ball out to Gnabry running at Bernat. What we end up seeing in that slide is that you have Thomas Muller making a darting run, and he forces Thiago Silva to push forward as well. So Gnabry's low ball across the edge of the box evades Paredes, and it falls into the path of Muller, who instantly drops the ball off into the path of Kimmich. So when Kimmich receives the ball, you have Herrera, Thiago Silva, and Paredes out of position, and at the back post, you end up seeing Lewandowski and Coman in a 2v1 situation with Carrera. Kimmich plays the ball towards that back post, and with Carrera occupied by Lewandowski, it allows Coman to nod a free header beyond Navas. Minutes later, we have Coman in a 1v1 situation with Carrera, and with Muller occupying Thiago Silva, Coman's movement to the byline sees him deliver a quality ball across the 6-yard box, and it forces Kimpembe to make a last-ditch tackle to ensure that Lewandowski doesn't have a tap-in. And when we look to one final example, it's Thomas Muller receiving a nod back from Lewandowski ahead of Kimpembe, and what we see from Goretzka is that he makes a darting run into that box between Carrera and Thiago Silva, and that movement ends up taking Carrera out of the game, and Muller is able to locate Coman making a darting run towards the back post, but his first time effort is flashed across Navas, but Thiago Silva clears it off the line. But while Bayern Munich could have killed off the game with those chances from Coman, the final stages of that game was very open, and frankly, they did a very poor job of controlling that lead. When you look to some examples, you end up seeing PSG getting into very good positions, but simply lacking that final touch. Verratti's lofted free kick over Davies ended up seeing Davies guided into Di Maria, and Di Maria was able to play a reverse ball into the path of Marquinhos running off Goretzka, forcing Neuer into a save. There was Neymar sliding a ball between Kimmich and Sula for Mbappe breaking forward, but he nearly beat those two defenders in that left half space to get a shot off. There was a time where Sula played a poor pass into Draxler, and that saw 3 PSG players breaking beyond the 2 Bayern center backs, but Draxler's pass in behind was blocked out by Alaba. And in stoppage time, following Verratti bypassing Kimmich, he slid the ball beyond Sula into the path of Mbappe, who cut across Sula and Goretzka and located the run of Neymar darting between Alaba and Davies. And when Neymar received that ball in left half space, he was able to cut across Alaba, and there were 2 targets in Choupo-Moting and Draxler Draxler to receive a tap in, but neither of them attacked the ball breaking through the 6-yard box, and therefore Bayern Munich were able to hold on to their lead. But as you can see, while both approaches did vary, what you can say is that both sides did adopt a risk and reward approach. PSG looked to play on the counterattack, and they did get themselves into good quality positions beyond Kimmich and Davies, but they simply wasted their opportunities. Whereas when you look to Bayern Munich, they were able to get their midfield runners in Muller and Goretzka into good quality positions to create space for others, and then the movement of the fullbacks allowed them to deliver quality crosses into the box, and frankly, it was Coman who was the decisive factor, but it was from an atypical approach. You expected him to beat Tyrrell in 1v1 situations, but here he looked to break in beyond the back post, create overloads against Tyrrell, and with the movement of the midfield runners and the space provided out in those wider areas, Bayern Munich were able to breach that PSG backline and were worthy winners of a European Cup. Hi everybody, thanks for watching, and subscribe here for your latest tactical analysis and daily commentary on the InnerViews show. And if that wasn't enough, don't forget you could find more organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis on the InnerViews podcast, the best soccer/football podcast in the world, available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and any Android apps on your Android devices.